Hello and welcome to Is This England, a show where we talk about old England games and ask just how England was this.
Today, we're covering our first ever home championships match, where Don Revie's struggling England travel to Belfast to face a pumped up Northern Ireland, looking for their first win over the Free Lions in 50 years. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the show. Nick, how are you doing?
I'm very, very good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad at all. We've got a 1977. We're back in the 70s.
Oh, love it. Flares, big collars,
Ale,
lots of ale,
lots of ale, lots of fags.
yeah, definitely smoking in pubs. I can't move for the smoking here now. Can you?
Bring it back. Don't bring it back. I mean, do what you want. Maybe some pubs have it.
One pub. You're allowed one pub in the city centre of any place you live, and you're allowed to smoke in there.
I was talking to my dad about this recently, and he was saying how if he was running a pub,
Yeah.
he'd have it so the non-smokers have to go outside when when somebody wants to light up. He doesn't smoke. He would just do it to be contrary, I think.
The thing is, though, you'd have to it'd be everyone else, and then it's like, well, you've got to go outside because I'm about to smoke. I get not complaining about it, but you've got to leave
Yeah.
because you're not smoking.
Like somebody at the other end of the bar's lighting up, and they're like, "Right, everyone out."
What if the person who was smoking also, once you were finished, would you also have to go outside, or would it be just
No,
absolutely?
you stay.
Yeah, but if you're a non-smoker, then, or is it chain smoking? You have to just be chain smoking your way through that bar.
That's better. I did say to him, I think it's flawed.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect idea, but I don't know. I think those smokers would be loyal to that pub.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You'd make up for the people who wouldn't want to go by the fact that they wouldn't go anywhere else. The
Yeah.
smokers.
Would the vapes be allowed?
No,
No vapes allowed.
no. You can have like a vape shelter. Like, have you ever been to an airport and seen the smoking
Yeah.
pods that
Oh
they have?
yeah. They're in some countries they're really weird. Like something like as big as a phone booth, and you get like two people in there, and some have got like entire rooms. I just think, I think I was in Poland, and there was one in the airport I was in, and it was honestly big enough for about three people. And I was like, even with COVID and everything like that, you're like willfully going into a box to breathe smoke on each other. It's beyond me in honesty.
Well, what are we putting in our very smoky time capsule today?
I can't even see. What are we? Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll
What you
go.
are?
I'll go first. We usually start the show with putting a couple of notable items or moments into our ever-growing time capsule. We need to have a recap soon as to what's actually in this box.
A time capsule.
Yeah. And my contribution today is a sad one,
Mm.
but important nonetheless. I'm putting in the death of the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley.
He's got another mention on the pod, hasn't he?
I know, yeah. The king of rock and roll, Terry Venables.
Terry would have been knocking around in this era, wouldn't he? Starting out his period in management, but anyway,
He probably was born on the no, he wasn't born in the 70s. Anyway,
into the same body.
Yeah.
And just Elvis's spirit went into him.
we get so sidetracked already. Yeah, 16th of August 1977, Elvis Presley passes away. It's a sad moment, but a chance for us to remember the life of one of the greatest to ever do it being rock and roll.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's people I know who don't really like Elvis, and they're like, oh yeah, but he's an idea more than anything like that. But I always think of Elvis of like, even when you think of the Vegas run and overweight and all this kind of stuff, even when he was on stage and he performed, everything kind of went away, all the silliness or
Yeah.
whatever, and we would perform the songs, and you just go, right, that's what made him what he was.
Yeah, there's no denying that he was like hugely benefited by a marketing machine around him
Yeah.
back when that wasn't such a huge thing, and time and everything just came together to mean that he was the chosen one, and people went nuts for him because I feel like people's minds were being manipulated in a way that they hadn't been before through
Yeah.
like advertising and TV promotion and everything like that. And but again, I don't think that detracts if you watch the comeback special when
Yeah.
they're all sat round with their acoustic guitars, him and his boys, and you see he's just one of the lads who's got an amazing voice and girls fancy him, and they would do that without, that would be the case regardless.
That's one of the great looks, isn't it? The
Yeah.
comeback special. Just very few people have ever looked that cool. And
Yeah.
especially like say coming back to something as well, not like a first fresh look. That's that's someone coming back from that too. And again, what you say about people being manipulated and that's there's still obviously an element of kind of like exploitation in terms of taking black people's songs and
Yeah,
giving
yeah.
them to a white person, but in everything, I think it was the fact that well, a lot of those songs you wouldn't know those songs. They'd be old blues songs, but they were changed up for a wider audience.
Yeah, of course, and you know, I think he was to some degree aware and not shameful, but he didn't exactly hide from that fact and did try and raise others up with him. But there is only so much he could do, I guess.
Yeah,
He changed the world in many ways, and on the 16th of August 1977, he passed away.
allegedly. Let's not get into the conspiracy.
Not another bloody sidetrack now.
No
We've done
way.
smoking and yeah. Um, he didn't die of smoking. Well, we know why he
Well,
died, so let's leave it there.
let's move on to my one, shall we?
Yes, please.
So I'm putting in for 1977. Star Wars opens
Star
in
Wars.
cinema.
Well, yeah. Again, very much like Elvis, changed the world, and he's just so clouded in like its own mythology.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the first one that opened, it was later retitled Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope. It was only Star Wars when it came out because we didn't know if there would be another one. This may be the biggest flop ever.
Yeah, yeah.
But when it came out, George Lucas did have an idea for it, and it was going to be. Wanted to put everything into one film, but he decided actually this is done well. We'll put it into the trilogy instead. And
So you say it could have been the biggest flop ever. So was it backed? Did it have the expectation? It's not like It's obviously not an indie film.
no, it wasn't an existing property. Obviously, a brand new property. It borrowed from a lot of things in kind of cinema, but it was kind of George Lucas's one of his first films. He'd done other films as before, but this was like a first big sci-fi thing that wasn't seen as going to be overly cheesy. It was kind of like this is serious now, and you look at them and they are really cheesy and they're
So
really
there was
hammy.
some level of expectation. It wasn't just like a what's this and who's this guy?
Yeah, it was kind of who's this guy? He'd done I think it was American Graffiti before, which had done well, but wasn't this incredible film that swept everything. But there was some expectation of this is going to be interesting. I mean, it was nominated for 11 Academy Awards, winning six, and adjusted for inflation, it's the second highest grossing film ever, behind Gone with the Wind.
That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought Gone with the Wind would be so that's adjusted for inflation again, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think because Gone with the Wind out in the 30s, I mean, literally every person born from then until probably the 60s, 70s would have watched it. So maybe it's made its money through that. But again, incredibly unpopular film. But
What makes Star Wars so great? Because I'm not a fan, and I haven't probably watched it enough to be a fan. I'm not really into what you'd call sci-fi, but especially because again, to talk about my dad, I'm sure we were speaking about Star Wars as well, and he was
yeah.
saying, when it came out, what a big deal it was. But like to somebody who's not of that generation, what made it last? What's the lasting impression?
I think because it goes in cycles of being popular and unpopular, kind of like what the Beatles were. Like in the 80s, the Beatles weren't very popular, and you look at Star Wars, kind of around in the like early 90s, it wasn't either. But then, and that previous generation have children, they passed the films down. I think they were digitally remastered and brought out on DVD and video. So a new generation discovers them, and as an original property, it's such a great idea, and the characters all work, and they're all iconic, and the actors become iconic as well. Of Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, those kind of people, and well, not the only issue, a lot of issues with Star Wars, but one of them is the fact that people just are never happy with the new ones,
Yeah.
or then they look at the old ones and go, well, actually, those are rubbish. These are the great ones, and there's no kind of worse aggravated fandom than kind of Star Wars fans,
Ah,
kind of
okay.
it's a bit, yeah. It's. I think someone said it was like Kiss fans are very much like that, apparently as well. Of like, well, I like my stuff of this, not yours, and quite similar to that. But yeah, they're just parts of the biggest things. And we would think of all the films we wouldn't have now, or the culture we wouldn't have now of just taking chances on these kind of films.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting to think of. I guess I get the cyclical,
Mm.
generational passing down of it. And I think if I were to look at it from an outsider's point of view, which I guess I am as I'm not a fan, I would probably say what its strength is that it's very sort of simple story of good versus evil, just told
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
really, you know, at the time a forward thinking way, and that's just layers of nostalgia since then, maybe.
And the musical just works. Everyone knows kind of even you as not a fan would know probably most of the score about most of it. All you had kind of big, like the biggest villain ever in Darth Vader in cinema as well. And as with all kind of villains in cinema, they end up becoming good guys because that's what you have to do to keep selling next films
Yeah.
and kind of giving the crowds what they want as well. But yeah, kind of changed the world of cinema and changed the world a little bit. Everything just seemed a bit more possible maybe then.
Yeah. What else was possible in this year was Liverpool winning the title. Let's have a look at the state of football, starting in England with aforementioned Pool.
Yeah, yeah. On the 15th of May, 1977, Liverpool would win their 10th English league title, as well as winning their first European Cup 3 days before the game we're about to cover today as well, beating Borussia Mönchengladbach 3-1 in Rome.
10th title. The eight, is it 18 or 19 they're on there?
They're
Or
on
20?
no, they're on 19 now. Yeah,
19.
second at the moment. They're to how many titles? But time of recording and all that.
Yeah,
It could very
that
much
could change very soon. It looks like Kevin Keegan was the star of the show that year. Keggy.
Yeah, yeah. Top scorer for Liverpool with 20 goals, and it proved to be his last season at Liverpool as well, before making his British transfer record of £500,000 to Hamburg.
That's interesting. Hamburg.
Yeah, I don't think they were like a mega team then, but it was seen as, well, you're going abroad somewhere. A lot of players don't travel abroad, so maybe you go, well, this is the team that were in for me, really. I want to change myself, and I guess wanted to do something a bit bigger for himself too. Like he kind of conquered England, done everything there was to do, go to Hamburg, and I think he become like World Player of the Year 2 years running at Hamburg, so he really kicked on. But
Well,
you look back at Liverpool, they signed Kenny Dalglish, and he goes on to be their greatest ever player. And Keegan's not forgotten, but the great work he did there is kind of immediately overshadowed by the best player they've ever had.
almost like Luis Suarez and Mo Salah.
Yeah, well, probably. Yeah, it's similar to that, isn't it? Like to have two great players come along at the same time almost is really, really, rare.
Yeah, obviously Suarez didn't have the championship success of Keggy,
Yeah.
but with Keg,
Mm.
with the Kegster, um, what am I trying to get at here? Like, okay, little spoiler, because they've won the Champions League, the European Cup, sorry, 3 days before this game, he's not going to feature. And I'm thinking we've dipped our toes into this era a couple of times in search of greatness from the Keggy well.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, are we ever going to actually see it?
Well, we've picked some odd periods, haven't we? So this is probably
Say that again.
We look at 73, he's on the bench. 82, he's injured and kind of coming to the end of his England career. We kind of went in the middle, and he's at the peak of his powers. The problem is the peak of those powers has meant he's not played in this game.
Yeah.
So maybe there's something around this era we can go, what was Keegan's best game for England? Because he's held up really high by a lot of people of that generation, isn't he?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And obviously Liverpool in this season come very, very close to winning the treble.
The treble, yeah, yeah. They're only stopped from doing the treble by Manchester United, who beat them 2-1 in the FA Cup final on the 21st of May.
Little did they know how crucial that would be to the history of the club going forward. I mean, if Liverpool were the first to win it in 1977, it would have no doubt meant that it was less for Manchester United to do it in 1999.
Yeah, there was something I was listening back to about that Liverpool Man United game actually the other day, and they said that actually that result took it. It happened twice almost. It happened stopping Liverpool do it, and then for Manchester United when they won it, it became more special because they'd had a part in making it so special first time round. I mean, for the next club who does win the treble in England, and there's a lot of teams that have been getting very very close to it over the last 5 years really.
Yeah.
It will be so special for them, won't it? And it won't take away that. All that you would say is that it won't be the first. Like Inter Milan were the first in Italy to do it. Barcelona the first in Spain. Obviously, Bayern Munich in Germany. So it comes with its own its own stuff and lineage as well, doesn't it? That kind of accolade.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Liverpool could do it again this year.
Well, yeah,
Very close.
It's absolutely possible, and yeah, I mean, oh yeah, I was going to say City could do it, but I guess they can't either because they're out of the FA Cup. I mean,
That's it, yeah.
there's a form of a trouble, but slightly back to the FA Cup final. Astonishingly in July, Manchester United's manager Tommy Docherty dismissed from his post after an affair with club secretary who was married to the physio at the time.
Wow.
Just wild, isn't it?
Did not take the John Terry rule of you can do what you want as long as you're at senior rank.
I know, yeah. Yeah. It was obviously seen as controversial at the time. Doherty was seen as making the physio kind of go away on long journeys, so he'd have time with the secretary and whatever. But in the only fairness you could probably say is that when Doherty died, he was still with
Oh yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
person, so they were kind of lifelong.
Not a fling.
It was in the like the name of love and whatever, but kind of today you probably just see the physio would be gone, wouldn't they? Unfortunately, whether that's clearly not fair, and it's not that physio's fault of what's happened, but it's kind of where they were, and that's kind of what you would see happen today. Maybe, I mean, there's a lot more furore around that kind of stuff, isn't there?
Yeah, you'd managers are a lot younger now as well.
Yeah.
I mean, when you said it was lifelong there, I don't know how old Tommy Docherty was, but I imagine that's probably about 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, I think he only passed away in 2000. So
Oh,
it
fair
was the
enough.
end of 2020. He passed away actually. Yeah. So yeah, but Liverpool, yeah, did do a form of a treble. They'd won the Charity Shield back in August the
Yeah,
previous year.
the Mourinho's treble at United was a
Oh, it's the funniest and stupidest like wooden treble ever, isn't
yeah,
it?
it was the League Cup, the Charity Shield, and the Europa League.
Yeah, just so Mickey
That's bad.
Mouse. So and he made all the players like put the three fingers up as well at the Europa League, which I just found so funny.
Such a cringe.
I know.
Speaking of cringe, there's outside of England where it seems like a lot of the big stuff is happening. We've kind of only really got one state of football point, which is Pele playing his final professional game in October of 1977 in
Yeah.
a bit of not a comedy, but it's an exhibition match between Santos and New York Cosmos where Pele would play a half for each side.
Yeah, again, professional in his last professional game. He's doing a lot of the lifting there, isn't it? It's, I mean, he's playing a half for each side. It's hardly a professional game, really, an exhibition. It just makes you think, well, how many of these games did you play in where you're
Yeah.
counting these goals? I mean, clearly today that wouldn't be allowed and be counted, but yeah, it's still, you could have your final game and whatever, but to call it your professional game,
Isn't it so weird how like Pele and Maradona just never came to England, like to play for like a Man United or Liverpool or
yeah, I guess it was the draw of coming to England didn't happen really until the
no?
Premier League started. You'd obviously had foreign stars coming over to England, but even here with kind of Pele and those other Brazilians or players of that ilk, you just wouldn't get them even barely leaving their country. You may get a few go to Italy or Spain because of the culture, but
Which clubs would they have played for? I mean, you imagine Pele would have. Well, he'd have been too late for this era of Liverpool success if he's just retiring.
yeah, if he could have moved, yeah, you'd think someone like a Liverpool may. Yeah, a little maybe like 5 years previous, he'd have wanted to try that. I mean, like
Yeah.
you said, you've got Maradona coming through a little bit late in a couple of years' time as well. But yeah, Pele would in this era. You'd think if he was going to have a big move somewhere, I think Tottenham were doing quite well.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be similar to the Man United of today, where they'd sign him up and he would be just wrecked.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is clearly the way we want to go with this, isn't
You'd
it?
sign him at this point now
Yeah,
after
definitely.
his final game. Um, that's Pele's final game, but we
Yeah.
have one big game ahead of us.
Oh yeah.
Um, why we've chosen to cover this game, then why I selected this game, as Nick will no doubt remind me as we progress. 28th of May 1977, England versus Northern Ireland. What about that appealed to me? Well, we've covered quite a few eras now, so we are starting to double up on one or two, and I'm finding ones that are particularly interesting to me for one reason or another. The Sven era, which is obviously so nostalgic for me, is it?
Yeah.
That will always be interesting. The sort of 80s era is interesting for I'm not sure. It's such a bit of a mystery,
Mm.
and there are some great players in there, and you're starting to see football develop. 70s is interesting to me because it's just a bit of a barren land of
Yeah.
tat. It's like a car boot sale of football. And yeah, obviously with the previously we covered the Poland game from 1973. I was hoping to see a bit of progression from then
Mm.
because there were some England players who didn't have a bad performance at all in that. Really, they were just kind of overshadowed by the Polish goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And yeah, home nations. I think we've covered 3 Scotland matches now. I also wanted to give another home nations team a bit of a go in under the spotlight. Obviously we covered 3 Scotland games now,
Yeah.
and Northern Ireland. It stuck out to me. Why
Yeah.
not? Why
I
not?
think it's interesting to do to cover a lot of these kind of home nations teams as well, isn't it? Because you just get as more an idea and more involvement. What was British football like around this time as well, and you do get a kind of a peek into what Northern Irish football was like as we kind of go along.
Yeah. Let's have a look at the build up on both sides of the fence. Then, starting with England. Nick, do you wanna lead us?
Yeah, no problem. Don Revie had taken over from Sir Ralph Ramsey a few months after the Poland 73 game, which we covered in the archives. Despite winning the 74-75 home championships, England were in a good position to qualify for Euro 76. However, they lost to Czechoslovakia and drew against Portugal, sorry, meaning that the Czechs qualified ahead of England. So no tournament straight away for Big Don.
Yeah, so they obviously put a lot into winning the home championship, and somehow still managed to get themselves in a good position to qualify. So yeah, good old Don. I mean, he
Yeah.
got it's an interesting one how he came to be appointed. I don't know if we want to kind of just touch on that because I was doing a bit of reading earlier, and his job at Leeds was quite remarkable,
Mm.
and there was a line in the article which I was reading. I forget where it's from, but it was quite interesting to say that his career is basically viewed through the lens of Brian Clough.
Yeah, well, they just go hand in hand, don't they? I mean, even doing the research for this, I found myself watching the iconic Clough and Revie interview where they're both sat next to each other on a TV program. Allegedly, Clough didn't know that Revie was going to be there, and they're almost kind of like with smiles, barbing each other as they go along, saying, "Well, you didn't do this, you didn't do this."
Yeah, and it's kind of unfair to view anybody's achievements through the lens of somebody else, especially when they're a big, intimidating figure,
Mm.
like Brian Clough. And I just thought it was interesting to read about just how well he'd done at Leeds, and he'd been there for I think like 15 years.
And he made the club from not nothing, but he made everything in his own image. It was all about him and the players and his relationship with them as well. And then you come over to England, and you've not got that credit in the bank and that respect maybe with this group of players because you're picking them from all over the club country, and you may have upset quite a few of them as well, and you may have upset the club. So
Yeah, very true,
I,
very true.
I think
I imagine that he probably did go into it. I imagine everyone went into this with quite high expectations, though, or at least a bit of positivity.
Yeah, I think so. But when you look at, they try and qualify for Euro '76 and they fail. Revie was under pressure at this point to qualify for the World Cup in '78. They're drawn in a really difficult group with Italy, Finland, and Luxembourg, with only one side being able to progress to the finals in Argentina.
Yeah,
Um,
so it's ramped up in difficulty. Just one more point on that article I
yeah.
was reading. It referenced he had an unbeaten first season as England manager, and it's a
Okay.
it's a term I'd never thought of before. But
Yeah.
if you do just judge it like alongside what we know as a season
I'm assuming that we think that's maybe from like an August to a.
to like May,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah. So obviously the wheels are start not to fall off now.
yeah.
It's getting a bit more bumpy on the road.
Yeah, it's kind of the crunch time with the qualifying at that point. I mean, England do get off to a good start, winning 4-1 in Finland and 2-1 in the return fixture at Wembley. However, tragedy beckons as they lose 2-0 in Italy to take the group out of their hands. England do beat Luxembourg 5-0 at Wembley, upping their goal difference, which would be crucial to them going to qualify for this.
Yeah,
That's kind of where we leave them at this point, and they go on to, surprise, surprise, a home championships.
they're a blessing and a curse.
I know, like, there's as much as we've kind of said it'd be fun to bring them back, they seem to be happening far too much. Like, it almost feels like twice a season here you play a home championships, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. You can imagine the Arsene Wengers of the day going, I think we need to play 4 home championships a year.
Yeah.
It's what the people want.
Yeah, Scotland had won the previous home championships tournament, beating England 2-1 in a winner-take-all game at Hampden Park. Kenny Dalglish getting the winner. As we mentioned, Dalglish would move to Liverpool in the summer after this game to start his journey to becoming their greatest ever player.
Yeah, so England are on a bit of a decline at this point. I think under the manager, it seems they got off to a good start, and by the time they get to this point, they're looking to the home championships to maybe build up a bit of positivity.
I think so. It's so cutthroat this period of football, isn't it? Which is
Yeah,
why knockout football's so important. I
which is
mean,
what surprises me as well. I thought like our modern era was when it's really got cutthroat, but we've heard in the past about the pressure Ralph Ramsey faced, and obviously
but you look at like losing. Basically, England have had a perfect start to their qualification campaign for the World Cup. They've lost one game, and already like it's out of their hands. And
yeah.
that's it now, and you've just got to kind of cross your fingers. So it's really, really cutthroat there.
Northern Ireland. I mean, let's without causing offence to anyone, never the most glorious of teams
What's
on the
what's
international
seen?
stage.
Yeah, what's seen as fashionable anyway. I mean, at this period, I think they'd been to a World Cup or two, maybe in their history, maybe one, but it's had some good players along the way, which we're going to get onto, but never been this kind of overshadowed, unfortunately for them, by just your Englands and your Scotlands, really.
Yeah, and they entered this home championships off the back of a pretty abysmal one prior, the one with Scotland won, as we just mentioned, where Northern Ireland would finish bottom of the group without winning a point. But as you said, they're all good players.
Yeah, there absolutely are. So recognisable to me when I was looking through was Pat Jennings, Jerry Armstrong, Sammy McElroy, and Pat Rice, and they'd also been missing their most famous and best player ever, George Best.
Missing, do you know how he was?
I think it was just the point of in come the 70s, like the mid 70s, his career had just not gone the way. He'd been kicked out of Man United. Basically, he'd done trips all over the place. I mean, just to look through George Best's career in terms of where he plays is just like, wow, what is he doing there? Really, I mean, and
Yeah.
1976, allowing a 3-year absence, Northern Ireland boss Danny Blanchflower recalled Best to the national team for a crucial World Cup qualifier with the Netherlands in Rotterdam.
Yeah.
Best, he was at Fulham at the time, and in his probably his best period outside of Man United in club football, was by all accounts just magnificent. And Northern Ireland drew that game 2-2.
Wow. That's a successful callback, isn't
I
it?
know, I know, yeah. I mean, he may have been like 30, 31,
It's a
32
bit.
around
It's
there.
a bit. Mike Bassett and Tonka, isn't he?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, incredible. Really, the fact that he and Cruyff were playing in the same game. He just seems totally different eras. Even though Best kind of shone for like that small period, the fact that they played on the same pitch together is incredible, and it's testament to how well he played. Apparently, back at the hotel after the game, the team were in the bar, and Best was receiving phone calls from European teams trying to sign him up. So many that they had to just bring the phone to the table.
That sounds like bullshit. He's just gone, yeah, you do know, after that performance against Holland, they had to bring the phone to the table.
I can't think who it was. I watched an interview with a Northern Irish teammate. The name escapes me, but he pretty much said that that was the story. Again, you kind of take a lot of this with a pinch of salt, don't you? But
It's a shame he wasn't in this game. I mean, we're kind of so close to having him again. Well, there is a spoiler there.
he's not there.
He's
Yeah.
not here. Get ready for more of more, more of this level of excitement, folks. But he's not. Yeah, he's not. Doesn't make the squad for this game.
I think it's kind of like big games he'll come back for. Stuff like home championships,
England in the home championships isn't a big game.
Well, in comparison to like him going to a World Cup, which is kind of, and Cruyff said that he was the best player to never play at a World Cup, so
Yeah.
that's got to be his drive and target.
I imagine you have to take his availability week by week, or
Yeah.
maybe day by day as well.
Yeah, even when he's in the squad, it's like, right, is he going to come through that door?
Yeah.
Northern Ireland lose 2-1 in Belgium in their remaining games and would be away in Iceland in June in the World Cup qualifying, that is, with the return match to be held in September, as well as home ties to Netherlands and Belgium. So it's still in their own hands at this point. They could still turn this around after a good draw, but a loss in Belgium.
Yeah, but those Netherlands games are, yeah. I mean,
with Cruyff and kind of like the first great Netherlands team, that's again another tough group at this point. And you see just how hard it is to qualify for a World Cup here.
I know, but sod all that World Cup. The
Yes.
real World Cup is the home nations,
The real quiz.
and today we're looking at England versus Northern Ireland, 28th of May 1977, at Windsor Park in Belfast.
Alan Hunter leading out Northern Ireland, and the crowd rapturous in their welcome.
Let's have a look at the lineups then, shall we? Do you want to go for England?
Yeah. In goal, Peter Shilton. No shock there for us.
Yeah.
We've got a right back, Trevor Cherry, and then across the back four, Brian Greenough, Dave Watson, and Mick Mills. Mick Channon is England's captain with Ray Wilkins, Colin Todd, and Dennis Chirrut. And up front, Trevor Brooking and Paul Mariner. And the only person I can see on the bench is Brian Talbot.
Just on his own, lonesome Brian.
Yeah, just along to make the numbers up at that point.
So the only players to survive the Poland 73 game, Mick Channon and Peter Shilton. Big Schilt. It's no surprise Schilt, is he?
No, it's another one. It feels like we've been doing him every single week now, isn't it?
But he has got like more caps than anyone, hasn't he?
He has, but it's funny. we kind of discovered that him and Ray Clements were kind of trading places and doing a bit of a job share for a goalkeeper, and we just happened to have stumbled upon every Shilton game it seems in this period.
Yeah, and of course he would end up replacing David Seaman after the error at the Brazil in the Brazil game.
Yeah, he came on, didn't he? You thought,
Ronaldinho chipped Seaman, and Sven was like, "Get off,
yep,
Schiltz."
bringing Schiltz back.
Yeah.
I did notice he's not wearing gloves in this game, and I'm almost certain the '73 Poland game Tomaszewski's wearing gloves.
I think that neither of them are wearing gloves in
You
that
reckon?
game. I could be wrong because I feel like I made a note saying like proper hard goalkeepers,
Yeah.
but no gloves in this game.
No, I mean this seems way too late to not be wearing gloves.
I know what's the well, I guess they weren't being sold or what have you, but why would anyone not think?
Well, I guess maybe one day they were thinking, right, it's either cigarettes or gloves. What am I going to pick here? I just noticed as well, Paul Mariner, another game for him from close from the trot as well, from the France '82 game we covered too. He makes another appearance.
Yeah, Ray Wilkins with hair.
Yeah, Ray Wilkins, a very young Ray Wilkins, which we'll get onto. But yeah, due to them playing in the European Cup final a few days earlier, England are missing captain Emlyn Hughes. They're missing Kevin Keegan, Ray Clements, Phil Neal, Phil Thompson, Ray Kennedy, and Terry McDermott. So it just shows how much of a influential figure, or what influential team Liverpool were on this England side.
Yeah. Trevor Brooking is in up front as well.
Yeah, yeah.
First appearance for him.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think he may only be like 28 at this point. So kind of like, and it's mentioned that he's been playing at West Ham and does really well to keep them in the league prior to this season as well. So yeah, an early one for Trevor Brooking. My memories of him are more just being a co-coms.
Yeah.
On England games, I always thought he was really good on those. I think he was on the Brazil one we covered as well.
He was on. He may have been on Actua Soccer 2, which was like the first football game I ever played, and I love his voice when he's on co-coms or what have you.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at Northern Ireland then. In goal, we've got Pat Jennings. Right back, Jimmy Nicholl. We have Tommy Jackson and Alan Hunter at centre backs. Alan Hunter's the captain.
Mm-hmm.
Left back is Pat Rice. Right midfield, Chris McGrath. Centre midfield, Brian Hamilton and David McCreary. Left wing, Sammy McElroy. Up front, Jerry Armstrong and Trevor Anderson. On the bench, the limited bench, they've got one more player on the bench that we could
It's
find.
not fair, that is it?
Derek Spence and everyone's favourite criminologist, Martin O'Neill.
Love a bit of Martin O'Neill.
You can't imagine him. I never thought of him as a player.
No, I think he was maybe. I don't know if he was at Forest at this point or not soon after. But he does go to Forest when they start winning European Cups. I'm aware of that. But yeah, I agree with you. I just think of him. He's never looked any different of when he was like at Celtic and
Villa.
Villa, yeah, Villa was a big one for him as well. He was at Sunderland for a
Leicester
period.
when he was younger as well.
Oh God, yeah, he was at Leicester too.
What was his most recent one? Because he did come back, and it was
Oh,
just
he was in like a Forest, and it just all ended like awfully. Like he left within like a couple of days.
Oh,
and
was it Forest as well?
Roy Keane was there as well. Like good
Yeah.
cop, bad cop.
Did he manage Ireland not so long ago with Keane?
He actually, yeah, internationally, yeah, he managed Ireland. for
Republic
quite a
of
while.
Ireland?
Yes, Republic of Ireland for quite some time.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of managers, Danny Blanchflower, this is his first game in Belfast for Northern Ireland, so recently taken over for the qualifying campaign. Let's see how he gets on.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a quick deep dive into the kits. Not much to talk about, really, is there?
I don't like England's kit at all.
No.
I don't think it looks good at all. It's kind of like a white polo shirt with like blue down the
Yeah.
arms and a bit of a collar. It looks like a polo shirt JJB would bring out before the World Cup and fool your nan into buying it.
I've got here the New England's up. They're selling them for the discount price of £10, actually.
What? Where's this
And you're
come
like,
from?
no, this is amazing. She brings it back. Not that one. Not that one.
It's not good, is it? I quite like the shorts. They're blue. They're quite nice with a stripe down them. But I'm at a stretch to get anything positive out of that England kit.
The Northern Ireland one is a strange beast
Yeah.
with a huge, almost religious collar. It's very. What was that show? Where, with the weird priest guy in that was on Netflix, the Midnight Mass.
yeah. It's a bit of that, isn't it? It's the biggest white collar you've ever seen, and there's also like a Celtic cross on the front of it, which replaced the IFA crest as well. I know I say sort of with these kind of things, but it looks like a rugby top that you'd see today, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's not the worst shirt I've ever seen.
Definitely better than England's.
But it's really overshadowed by this massive collar.
Yeah, it's where you see it flapping in the breeze of the game like it's a cape.
Yeah. National anthems as well. I mean, that's a bit of a shit show. There's only one national anthem, a shared
Yeah,
anthem.
obviously a shared anthem. Yeah, and the whole crowd are so keen to sing the anthem. They don't
Yeah.
even wait for the band to kick off. They just gone.
I know they just start of their own accord. The band like is trying to catch up halfway through. It's like, oh god, turn your sheet music over to page 2, and it's like when it gets to the center, that's where they try to come in and they just try and get the timing just right. And then I think they go for another round of it, don't they? Not the famous second verse from the 2002 World Cup. I feel like
No.
they just started again.
I think they must do, but you hear the whole crowd singing it, and I'm just like, there's no music here. Like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, there is a band, and the band march across the pitch as well, so you know they're there.
There's a bit more sort of pre-game weirdness with the coin toss.
Okay, yeah, I didn't notice this.
So all the players, they come out onto the pitch and they are, geeing themselves up and they make the way to respective half. England, say, on one side
Yeah.
and Northern Ireland on the other side. And then the referee gets the captains and they toss the coin. And then the captain goes, I'll have this half. And then all the players switch over.
Oh yeah,
And it
yeah.
takes about 2 or 3 minutes. And you're like, well, why didn't you just do the coin toss
Before they've done that.
Yeah, before you all get into your places. Maybe
It's
maybe
50,
just an accident.
It's 50-50.
Yeah.
You do see that in Premier League games these days, but it seems to take forever for them to get across, isn't it? I
Yeah.
think the camera closes in on Peter Shilton. It's like he's running a marathon.
Yeah. And why is the captain such an arsehole to go, maybe it's just a mind game or something, go, yeah, we'll change him. Like, if it was me, I'd just go, oh, God, what's the point?
Yeah. What do you want? Are we just where we are? Fine.
Yeah, I'm not moving.
Because it's only for kickoff, I'm assuming. I don't know if is it just for, we get this half. And,
Oh, yeah, I mean,
I don't know. Is that even true? I don't know.
I presumed it was for...
For which half?
for
do you want-
kickoff?
Well, maybe it's for which half do you want to shoot? I've got no idea. I mean, here it feels like you just turn up and it's just like, well, you're refereeing this. Just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at some of the people that turn up as well. I mean, the size of the flares on some of on the people that are here is
the press photographers.
is staggering. I
Yeah.
mean, my God, how 70s is this game?
That's
You
not
look at them.
professional, is he?
Yeah, they look so heavy. If they were in a puddle, they would be dragging you down. You need a really good belt to be keeping them up.
And how are you not just, your heel just hitting off the base and falling flat in your face every 5 minutes?
Yeah, yeah.
Any other pre-game observations in the midst of all this madness?
Oh, well, the commentator, I'm not really sure who this is. In my head, I think it's Brian Moore, but I think
I think it is Brian Moore.
Oh, it
I
is.
think I did a bit of research and I meant to take a note, but that sounds right.
Yeah, I think it's Brian Moore. I quite like as a commentator, but before kickoff, obviously they say they change ends, and he says, "I'll mention the referee again, London weekend, in case you don't want that toss-up shot." I assume he was supposed to hit a mute button, and he's talking to the production staff somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, maybe this isn't going out live, but if not, how are we watching it?
Well, it
We
may
won't-
not have been going out live because
But how have we got this raw footage? I mean, let's not go into how we've got the
I know.
videos, but
Shut up.
But I'm more saying, well, how has this been archived? It just seems if this wasn't going out live, I don't understand how someone has managed to archive this. But
I understand your point.
yeah, but it is quite odd. I mean, some research into London Weekend, now part of the non-franchised ITV London region, was the ITV network franchise holder for Greater London and the home counties at weekends, broadcasting from Fridays at 5:15 p.m. This sounds like, in Alan Partridge, where he goes for a day in a youth detention centre
Yeah.
and he starts telling the inmates about Granada.
Classic.
Roger Moore stars in 1969 caper Crossplot.
What channel is this?
This is just central. I haven't got to the regional variations yet. You see, up until 20 years ago, ITV were split into 15 different franchises. So if you're in Leeds, you'll be watching Yorkshire TV. In Newcastle, that would be Tyne Tees. Where I'm from, it was Anglia.
The fuck are you on about?
Imagine ITV is a housing estate. There are 15 dealers punching a bit of this, bit of that. Then one day, 2 big guys roll up. Blacked out Range Rover, bit of muscle. That's Carlton and Granada. They look around and say, we team up. This could be our manor. We could sort these tarts right out. So, they flash the cash, bang a few heads together. Couple of years later, it's floated as ITV PLC. All wrapped up with a pretty little bow.
Yeah, that definitely got shades of that. Thanks for explaining the inner workings of ITV in 1977
Yeah.
to us. But we've got a game to talk about, mate.
Oh, we have, haven't we?
Okay, so they found the sides, everyone's happy, and we start. And let's talk a little bit more now about something that isn't the game and this weird wibbly wobbly footage that we watched.
This freaked me out so much. I didn't like how to have a drink or anything before this, and I was just like totally sober. And all of a sudden, this wobbly camera starts turning around. It's like you're watching like a wildlife documentary. Like everything that you're seeing that the camera's focused on, you can see that running. But it's almost like they're on a treadmill and it's green screen in the background.
Yeah,
Have you?
I think it's stabilizing. I did some videos back in the day,
Hmm.
and like whoever was holding the camera must have had really shaky hands, and I tried to stabilize it, and it looked a bit like that.
Yeah.
Like it's this kind of weird warpish effect. So
Yeah.
yeah, we watch these games so you don't have to, and if you do watch this, just don't be too concerned. You're not going mad if you see the wibbly wobbly.
I'd love to see if there's like a highlights package because we've watched the whole game. But if there's a highlights package, if anybody else would notice that, like those close-up shots, like that one of Shilton running across the pitch, to me was just so freaky.
Yeah,
I was just
yeah.
like, what's going on with the background? He's not moving. It's like a backdrop of a Scooby Doo cartoon when the background's just flicking.
Yeah,
past.
like when they drive cars in TV shows.
Yeah, like old. Yeah, well, around this period, it definitely would have been like 70s. Just get this on the back, and you just running past it.
Going like 100 miles an hour in the background. Let's get into the action though. 10 seconds in, straight from kickoff. England play it back to the gloveless Peter Shilton.
We're in for a classic, aren't we?
That's the start you want.
Straight from kickoff, their mentality is right. Just get it to Shilton. He's safe.
Yeah.
Like, this England team must be absolutely like on the floor for confidence, even though they've not really done that bad recently.
Yeah, Brian Moore's the solo commentator, as we just mentioned there, and he did tickle me with a couple of his early comments, such as, if past history is anything to go by, it's traditional that the Irish come hard for you at Belfast.
Okay, right. Thank you, Brian.
And followed quickly, like straight after, Shilton handles the ball. And if only it
Great.
said balls. and then I saw an advert that says, settle on a bush.
Yeah, I didn't even. Is it even a bush or just bush? I couldn't quite make that out.
Good
but-
point.
but
Maybe
this-
it's just settle on bush.
I mean,
It's the 70s after all.
Well, yeah, that's another 70s thing. I mean, the reason we're not talking about the game is God, England are all over the place here, aren't they?
Yeah,
I mean,
already.
even though they can just play the ball back to Shilton and he can pick it up, they end up booting it up wide everywhere apart from to Shilton. They just can't seem to get it just on the ground and just calm,
Yeah, the Belfast crowd are loving it. They're going wild every time England show a hint of weakness.
which is a lot. We're only a couple of minutes in, but it's a lot. I mean, chaotic England again. They do make the first chance. Trevor Brooking with a cross and into Brian Greenhoff's header, and it's saved low down by Pat Jennings. A really good reaction save.
I thought it was a really good save. It kind of reminded me of the Gordon Banks against Pele one.
Yeah.
Not as dramatic because he didn't get the lift afterwards with it to push it over because he didn't
Yeah.
need to. But it's a good save. Pat Jennings is like an iconic keeper, right? I mean,
Oh, definitely, yeah.
he was
yeah.
around for a very long time, and was he an Arsenal keeper?
Oh, you're asking me now, yeah. A very good chance, but I think when he makes the save here, the only thing that kind of takes the glory off it is that when he saves it, he kind of rolls back on himself like he's doing a headstand or something.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've got 237. Oh God, 237 appearances for Arsenal.
Yeah.
But prior to that, 472 appearances for Tottenham Hotspur.
I mean, just didn't have to move house, did he? That's all he was interested in there.
Wow.
So, bringing together North London.
119 Northern Ireland appearances.
That's a lot, even for this era as well. I mean, I'm assuming 70% were home nations games, but still.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a scrappy start. I'll be expecting much to be happening in these first 10 minutes. It looks like both teams are kind of feeling each other out.
The Green of Ireland coming forward. Anderson trying some tricks and getting nowhere. Greenoff getting it away. Brooking. Hunter stopping him. Or rather, Jackson. Crowd swelling with noise there. Armstrong couldn't quite control it, and Watson almost gave him another chance. And it's touched in! And a goal given there by Chris McGrath. England badly at fault in defence and a goal behind after 4 minutes. This is where the mistake came. Watson didn't clear it. And it was touched there by Armstrong. And McGrath, number 7, turning it in.
Expect the unexpected, baby.
Yep, England's starting really well here.
Nice goal. Well done, Northern Ireland.
I know, yeah. I mean, do you want to talk through this goal? I mean, it's painful.
Yeah, I told you this is a classic game. Look, we got a goal after what, 8 minutes or something like that. Yeah, England are a mess at the back. Jackson intercepts a clearance and brings it forward. He's 10 yards from England's goal. The three England players are close to him, but there is a massive gap on the left for him to pass through to Armstrong. He actually he takes a moment and
Yeah.
just goes, "Oh, there's a man."
He almost stops, doesn't he?
Yeah,
And goes,
yeah.
foot on the ball. Right, what am I looking at again?
Like a foot on the ball, and England's defence have left the striker completely unmarked in the penalty
So
area.
unmarked in our notes.
Yeah, yeah. And he tries to put his foot through. It's a bit of a slice, or it's blocked. It's kind of hard to tell, but it's not clear by any means. It kind of falls to Hamilton, who has a shot saved by Shilton, who pushes it away straight into the path of Chris McGrath. Yeah, loads of room, unmarked, taps it in, open goal. What a mess.
What a mess. I mean, my first thoughts about watching this England team are, I hate this team.
What do you hate?
I hate this
It's
England
very
team.
strong. You should never say you hate anyone.
Oh, well, that's not true, is it? But I look.
What my nan always used to tell me.
Oh well,
You
she's
call him a nan a liar?
Did she watch this England team? Did she? I just don't know. I think it's just because it's so unknown to me, this England side. I'm just like, I don't barely know any of the players. Those I do are just like maybe not where they should be, and just this opening thing of like, oh my god, what are they doing? And, like starting off straight away, thinking it's safe to pass it back to Shilton, can't even do that anymore.
Why would you go to hate rather than like it's comedy gold?
Oh, it is comedy gold. I'm not going to say it's not, but it's still just kind of, oh, this is like a team that if I was that age, I have to support this team. I have to follow them and try and defend them almost at times.
I do think that of the fans in the stadium, I always think, how much belief could they have had? But I guess you'd look at Heskey and Rooney from 2010 and that
Yeah.
team and just think,
Oh yeah, it's been crap in our lifetimes as well, where we've had to go, well, maybe it's not, but I think with England sometimes I can kind of like desensitize myself to it, and I can kind of go, you know what, I'm taking a step back. I may not watch a few games, or may do something else, but here, like this is kind of it, isn't it? I mean, big highlight straight away though. The egg timer's back.
yeah, let's move on from the goal. England are 1-0 down, and the egg timer's telling us that there's 5 minutes gone? I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Barely even that. They've got a football in the middle of the egg timer this time though, which I've really enjoyed.
Nice addition.
Yeah, I think so.
It almost looks like a oven dial,
Yeah, it does like a microwave. Yeah, like an old school microwave.
a microwave.
Yeah, England creating very little. It seems to be hard for them to even complete 5 passes, and all of a sudden, Northern Ireland are all over them. I mean, most notable thing from till 15 minutes mark is the ball needs changing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chewett runs into Paul Mariner, and the ref somehow gives England a free kick. Just England players are running into each other, and the ref's going, "All right, I guess I'll give you a free kick for this."
The ball was changed because it was out of shape, and I don't think it's the only one on this pitch. I think there's a few.
There's a few out of shapes on here.
Yeah, there's a few players who are leathered.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Mariner pops up again, and this week he looks like a different person from Alfie His Own Pet. In this screenshot, I think he looks like Wayne from Alfie His Own Pet. Nice niche reference for you and I only.
Yeah, no, that's very accurate, Wayne. I think what you've done there is you've like refined your observation from the first time.
Yeah.
Where you gave him like a fresh character and a generalization, but I think deep down he's Wayne.
I think that's pretty spot on there, isn't it? I mean, also at this point, you get a constant drone of "You'll Never Walk Alone" that goes around the stadium. I'm assuming it's the Northern Ireland fans that are singing it, because I don't think there's many England fans in the stadium as well. But throughout the game, like every 10 minutes, that comes up again, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does actually. It does, and we heard it in the England-Poland game, didn't we?
We would have, yeah.
I was surprised with its affiliation and use in international football, but maybe we're just, maybe we're learning something here.
Yeah, what happened in the past is what happened.
Yeah, people used to sing "You'll Never Walk Alone."
Give us a goal and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
and like a lot more, relatively wholesome chants, but
I think it's a wholesome chant. It's a long and wordy chant as well.
yeah,
It's like a song.
yeah.
Well, it is a song.
Well, it's literally a song.
It's literally a song, but I mean, it just shows the kind of caliber of singer you used to get in the 70s.
Yeah.
They'd probably try and rap something today, wouldn't they? The England crowd.
Oh my god. Well, all of a sudden, there's an opening for England. Like, it does come out of absolutely nowhere. There's an errant lofted sideways pass from Pat Rice, and it finds Chewett, who just ran into one of his own players, plays a surprisingly nice first time intercepted pass into Mick Channon. He rides a challenge from Jackson, and Channon's through on goal. Jennings comes out like an absolute shot
Such
to
good
him.
goalkeeping.
It's just straight away, like you could barely see anything in focus, and all of a sudden he's on the edge of his area, and he makes a really good challenge. Actually, he saves with his legs, and he kind of just kicks it away from a corner. It's not even like he's like done a sliding tackle and you clear it out like you see someone like Edison or Allison do these days.
Yeah.
He fully just comes on and just kicks it away from him.
He was out so quick. He kind of Brooking hadn't had a chance to. Was it Brooking? Sorry,
Channon, yeah.
Channon. Didn't have a chance to kind of think about his shot. He was like, I've got a couple of seconds before I've got to start thinking. Oh no, I haven't.
Yeah.
Here's a goalkeeper." And then Jennings is like, "I'm just gonna have to stick a boot in here and make a tackle." It's not a bad tackle. Maybe a bit of original sweeper keeper action.
Yeah, I mean, Channon, you can tell he's so shocked by it. Just like, well, you can't do that.
Yeah,
It's almost like he's not allowed out of his area. But it's like, well, you're not out your area, but that's cheating still, isn't it?
five-a-side rules.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Channon doesn't start great here, doesn't he? He's already done that, and let's see how he improves maybe as we go along.
Yeah, there's a bit of action for Shilton to get involved in back at the England end. Yeah, they're not making life easy for themselves.
No.
Even Northern Ireland have just been. It's like the Scotland '67 game we covered, where they look more up for it.
Oh,
They look
definitely.
fitter and more sort of ready for the battle. So yeah, Shilton comes to the left of his area, catches the ball, but he starts to fall out of his area, chucks the ball out of his hands like it's a bit of a grenade or something. And as the Northern Ireland players and fans, claim for handball, there's a couple of little moments like that where England nearly get themselves into some right trouble. We'll get to them as we get through the game, but so far England are doing nothing. There's a few players I don't think I've even heard mention.
Yeah. I mean, Colin Todd hasn't had a mention at all. The fullback's been weighed down, by the centre half being so bad. Nicest thing I can say is that Shilton has got quite a nice goalkeeper shirt on, even though it's got nothing to do with him.
Yeah, we're really appalling here. Is it because we're missing so many Liverpool players? Would say if there was an All English Champions League final again, and you took, say, Liverpool versus Man City or something like that, and you took all those players out of it now, would today's England team kind of look as lopsided and as weak?
Would it be that drop in quality, really?
Yeah, because
I think
with those teams, you'd be taking a lot of English players out.
You would. I guess there's two arguments for that. One is that you've got a lot more English players playing in the Division 1 as it was at the time, so you're going to be made up of more of them. But I think England would have had 7 players missing that would have played for Liverpool, who were the best team in the country, obviously the best team in Europe at the same time as well. So maybe it's slightly different. I don't feel like England, because they've got such a wider pool of players that play such high level football now and high quality football. I think maybe the drop off's not as much as it would be, because there's a few players here. I just think maybe they were good players, but they're not quite up to what you'd want the standards to be here. Yeah, I've been kind of watching this game, and you kind of pick up little pieces as you go along, and nothing to do with how he's played, but I've only just realised how beautiful Trevor Brooking is as well. I feel like I've started to fancy him a bit.
Yeah, you must be bored. You must be bored to start fancying Trevor Brooking.
I mean, he looks like a lovely chiseled statue who's come to life.
I'd like to see him in like a fine Italian suit.
He looks like an Italian player of around this era,
Yeah,
doesn't he?
yeah.
And he looks like, actually, in a better cut of his shirt, with other people that look like him around him. I think he could he could pull that off. I mean, when you look at him here, he looks 40.
Yeah,
He looks 40, and he's 28. I mean,
It's still handsome, eh?
yeah, that is a rough time he's had at West Ham. But yeah, this then leads on to one of the lowest displays of skill I've seen since we've started doing this podcast.
I would second this.
Alan Hunter strides forward like he's Franz Beckenbauer, 40 yards from goal, has a shot, and it goes as far wide as if you had 2 goals in place, and it's still missed.
It's so lacking in power as well that like it almost doesn't even reach a goal kick. It's so wide that nobody's running for it, but it almost doesn't cross the line. What the hell was he thinking?
It's so bad. I feel like, I know, like, it's very boring to say, oh, I could have done that, but I feel like that would be me with no football skill doing that. I know that's quite derisory, but it's still like, I do that. That's how bad I am, and that's what's happened on this pitch.
He saw the headlines.
Anyway, something of a higher level skill does occur.
McGrath. Hamilton. Pushing men forward quickly, Ireland. And Todd intercepting well. And Todd coming forward at pace now. 2 defenders, because it's Mills outside him. Still with Colin Todd into the path of Channon, and Mick Channon has made it 1-1. What a brilliant break there by the defenders, Todd and Mills. There they are, the two of them. Todd number 6, Mills number 3. Mills taking players that way. Channon coming up fast. First time past Jennings, 1-1.
Yep, as bad as England have been, this is a very, very pleasing goal, isn't it?
Get in there.
So what happens here? Colin Todd intercepts a potential Northern Ireland break 15 yards into the England half, taking what seems to be a purposefully heavy touch, and within 4 touches, he's basically in front of Northern Ireland's goal, isn't he?
Mental. Absolutely mental.
He runs through the entire team. England players streaming forward, and instead of playing it to his right to Mills, he plays a pass through the middle onto the penalty spot to Channon, beats his own player Mariner in there to sweep in the equaliser into the roof of the net. A really nice goal.
Yeah, it's like an alternative version of Route 1 football because instead of just hoofing it, they'll just run it the length of the pitch. Why don't players do that more? Why don't more players run the length of the pitch?
But it's that easy to do, clearly, on there. I mean, the silence after the goal is amazing as well. That's where you can tell there's barely any England fans in there. But Colin Todd all of a sudden looked like he'd had a power up on Mario Kart, and he'd just gone through the middle of the pitch. And it feels like no one in the world has ever moved that quickly in this era.
Absolutely. Well, 27 minutes in, and it is 1-1. The crowd, as you say, quite silent. But it was at this point where I think we both noticed an interesting feature of the crowd.
So there's a shot that comes over. I think there's a corner or something down there, but all of a sudden it cuts to the crowd, and there's people on the roof.
Yeah, there's people on the roof of the crowd, waving flags, singing songs, having fun.
Just having a great time, and I was just like, "What are you doing on the roof?" Like that just seemed terrifying to me. They're waving flags, they're doing everything, not to go all health and safety, but come on.
Yeah, it reminds me it reminded me straight away, and always will. If I ever see a football fan on a roof, it will always remind me of a day I worked at the newspaper, and just out of the blue, the phone rang, and it's such a weird way to start a conversation. I forget the guy's name, but he was like, "Hello, I'm so and so, and you might know me. I'm a Wolves fan, and I fell through the roof when we played Scarborough, and that was 30 years ago on Thursday or something like that. And I want to talk about it." And like I think I went to his house, and we had a chat and everything, and it was really interesting. Like he was basically like a meme before memes because this clip just went everywhere. But he was like held up. I think this was like Wolves had gone particularly wild on that day.
Yeah.
And being on the roof, some fans being on the roof were just a part of it, but the roof gave way underneath him.
You sent me the link actually. I did watch the video, like the now famous video, I guess from the 70s, and he's kind of like up celebrating, and all of a sudden like the floor just disappears beneath him. And it's quite a drop.
Yeah. I think on the comments of that story, which I've read, somebody says that Frank Skinner said it's the funniest thing he's ever seen, which is probably just a Wolves dig. Come to think of it, because but the guy was he kind of just spoke about how the impact of that moment had stretched out across his life, and he was just kind of it was always with him. He was like, he felt like such an idiot, and I think there was a happy ending in the fact that he went back to Scarborough when they had like a new owner or something like that, and he was basically given like forgiveness on the pitch, like they got him out onto the pitch and were like, we forgive, because he's got the headlines at the time, like they're quite nasty.
Yeah.
But
is that one that was it? You scum? Was it about him?
Yeah.
Or-
Well, him. He would have been like the symbol.
Yeah.
But there was other trouble that day.
Oh, okay then. You're right.
But obviously, you fall through the roof and you lay with the bloody prat, and that's the game.
For the rest of your life.
Another side story there. I just thought it was interesting. And
Definitely.
as soon as I saw those fans, I thought that.
That's just dangerous, isn't it? Well, I mean, slightly back to the action, we get Mick Channon with yet another chance, the big chance. Mariner crosses it in, and Channon only gets a small touch, and Brian Moore says a whisker wide, and he really should do better. There's a few chances here that fall Channon's way.
Should he do better? This is dire. I know it's 1-1, but what level of football would you say this game is by modern standards? Because I actually think it's like League Two. I went to watch Walsall the other week, and I mean, I left after 8 minutes, but it was about this level from that small sample size.
You were live on Sky Sports News, leaving from my recollection.
That's right. That's right. What would you say?
Yeah, I may not go League Two. I'd probably say League One, just because, like I say, there's no kind of idea of just even like having a plan at times. Like even you think of like years go by, there's a plan of getting the ball forward as quick as you can, and you're kind of aiming for two target men maybe, or into the corners or something. It just seems like it's just chaos all over the pitch.
Well, we're about 30 minutes in, and we actually see Martin O'Neill.
Yeah, he makes a little quick appearance, doesn't he? Comes on for Jerry Armstrong. Didn't see that he was injured, but there we go.
Maybe it was tactical.
Yeah, yeah. Jerry Armstrong clearly not doing the job that he should have been doing so far, as he's got no mentions from us,
Yeah,
for good or for ill.
there was a little bit of trouble actually in this game. 30 minutes, you hear a shout from the crowd, and the commentators quick to point out it's a solitary troublemaker who's being hoisted away by the police. I mean,
It's not your man, is it? Who fell through the roof?
oh, he's busy. Show us that then. Show us that action, because yeah, we sound spoiled because it's 1-1,
Yeah.
but it's like two accidental goals amongst a sea of nothing.
Yeah, I think as well, like you say, "Oh, show us the thing," show us the thing. But in reality, like back in this era, they would just show violence on TV, wouldn't they? It's not like we see someone invade the pitch now. Like, well, there's scenes here that nobody wants to see. Some idiots just come onto here, and we're not going to give them the screen time. But
Yeah.
back then, it was just like right camera on that balloon there, just do this.
There is a couple of chances for England shortly after that, though. Mick Channon, a miss, a cross in the left from Brooking. Channon's all alone in the area, but he doesn't even get a touch to the cross, and it's gone wide. He just needed to make some sort of connection, and it probably would have been a goal. I mean, he's not having a great game. He's been busy, but he's missed some big chances.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's not doing well as well. I mean, we're easing into half time now, and England have a corner. Jennings comes out to it, doesn't make any connection, and Brian Greenup has it cleared off the line. And then there's not much. England do look better as the half goes on. It feels like the stop just before the goal, and the goal has kind of like sprung them into life a bit. But you just feel like they're never too far away from a cock up, are you?
Well, before you know it, 45 minutes have came and gone, and it's half time. What to say? 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, Northern Ireland will be happy with the half time for the way England have come back into the game, and England were making chances. Yeah, not a great performance still from England. I did notice Ray Wilkins, as we say, he's here playing. He's very young at the time. He seems to have more hair every single time we watch him. Like it goes from when I think of Ray Wilkins, I obviously think of him with no hair, but we kind of just keep going back. Like I swear we're going to get to his debut and he's going to be like hair down to his knees or something.
Jesus himself.
I know he's been quite good actually. He's a standout performer maybe for me without many.
I'd probably say Brooking.
Brooking's been good actually. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, half time, and we get we saw a little bit of fanfare and fun and frolics at the start of the game with the fans just bursting out into the national anthem song. Oh my God, is that Trump to half time? Nick, what happens?
There's a dog on the pitch.
There's a dog on the pitch.
It's just the best thing that's happened today.
I know, what a dog as well, with a little coat on.
He's such a beast as well. He's the height of a man almost. Like he's at the waist of someone, isn't he? Like you see him getting kind of like brought off like near the end of half time because the camera goes right. That's half time now. Goodbye, and then it just cuts back and there's a dog on the pitch.
Yeah,
and it's like part of the ceremony. It's not like like the one that's just been walked on. He's like
he's like a show dog.
Yeah, he's part of something, isn't he?
Well, there's bagpipes playing. There's Union Jacks waving. It's almost like a little Jubilee party. But why are the bagpipes there?
I would not know. I mean,
I would not ask. Probably, I would kind of regret asking that question.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, isn't there?
Well, if looks could kill, I think Mick Mills would have finished off Chris McGrath by now. But a handshake at the end, not a very warm one, and a free kick to Northern Ireland. Jimmy Nicholl crossed in some beautiful balls this afternoon, and there goes another one, floating in there towards Hunter. Sammy McElroy for Northern Ireland. But Hunter supporting on the far side. Here's Hunter. Getting past Terry with a lot of skill there. Todd not hitting it out, but blocking that one. Hunter again. Supported now by McElroy. Nice little pass here for O'Neill. Ireland really have picked up some steam in the opening 12 minutes of this second half. And Shelton in trouble, and England in trouble, and Anderson with a chance, but they cannot quite get it in. Well, that was a brilliant chance there for Northern Ireland.
Yeah, and it's all become a bit too much for the
For Brian
Moore. That's it. Sorry.
Him in the production team. It's when he's like, Wait a minute. I've got the local back here. This is. I've got Dickie there. There's the rugby. Oh yes, yes, yes. I've got that now, mate. Tar. Like it sounds like he's just like shouting like a young production team member. Of like, yeah, I've got this. Thank you very much. Now.
Yeah, when he chucks the mate in at the end as well, it doesn't feel natural, does it? It doesn't feel matey.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. Yeah. Tar, mate.
Yeah.
Or whatever he says as well.
It's very much just like, yep, I know, I should have known that. Thanks, mate.
Even that, I've got like, well, I know you just told me, but I knew that anyway. So shut up.
Yeah, let's get back to it then. Second half, we've seen a dog, we've seen it all now. It can only get worse, or can it?
Well, yeah, there's a really good save from Shilton early on. Sammy McElroy's free kick to the far post, and maybe it was creeping in. Maybe they're looking for the defender on the far post as well, but tips it wide and a good save actually. I thought.
Yeah, it was a good save. The free kick though, just prior to that, he was given for quite a cynical drag down by Todd. No card given, and I started to think it's been very Mourinho football from both. So there's a lot of 10 men
Yeah.
behind the ball at all times.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that at all. I think, and it's just kind of like take your chances where you can, get up the pitch in any way you can as well. It's been quite.
I think
quite
it's
fruity.
less tactical than
Yeah.
Mourinho though. It's less that as a tactic, more as like a necessity.
Yeah, necessity and a mindset of like, well, this is just what we do. I mean, you do see a few tackles kind of like start flying in here, and it made me just kind of think, when do you think players stopped getting out on with bad fouls? Like,
Yeah, just going right. I'll shake that off.
yeah, because you never really see people argue in this game. There's a bit we'll come up to here in a minute, which is a bit tense when two people kind of look at each other. But in reality, they kind of just smash into someone. The person just gets up and goes, "Yep, no problem. I owed you one for that later as well."
So you're looking for like a sweet spot.
When did players like not kind of go to like dive around just because they've got a clip on the ankle, which literally everybody hates?
So
But
there must be like
also-
a week in the Premier League where
Yeah.
somebody's gone in with a sliding tackle and then they've done it the next week and they're gone, that's unacceptable,
Yeah.
red card. He's like, I did it last week and it's fine. You were the ref. The same team we're playing against as well.
there's got to be something like where was football best at that point? I mean, is there a point in the 90s before it kind of like started play acting and you see all this other stuff of trying to get people sent off? I mean, you never get that in the games we've cut of this era of, oh, he's tried to get him sent off. It's all a lot more cynical these days, isn't it?
Definitely. I'm unsure. Anyone, if you have an answer to that question, get in touch.
I mean, you do, you get absolutely why people do it because they want to protect the players so they don't get broken legs and things like that, which by and large, you see less injuries from horrific tackles these days because you see less horrific tackles because you're punished for them.
Yeah. And it's a more technical game as well.
Oh, yeah, and the players are quicker, they're stronger, and all this kind of stuff. I mean, could you imagine what some of the players here playing in the Premier League could?
I love to
today
see a
would
bit of
do it?
needle though.
Oh, yeah, we all do now, don't we?
And we do see a little bit between Sergeant, what's his name?
Such off the thin blue
Off the
line.
thin blue line, Grimm,
Yeah.
Chief Inspector Grimm.
Yeah. Mills and I think it's McGrath have a bit of a set to, don't they? The referee brings them together after they've kind of kicked each other, and they both had a high foot up, and it's not gone well. They're exchanging some filthy looks at each other.
Yeah.
It looks like they wish they were in a dark pub together, smoking, exchanging views. Let's say,
And just go for a kebab afterwards.
yeah. I mean, they both come out, leathered and with like a black eye, but they'd be like, "Oh, he's all right, him really, isn't he?" But so the stare that Mills is giving to
Yeah,
McGrath there
he
is
looks solid.
so good, isn't it? But
Yeah.
but that's led to Northern Ireland. They've got a free kick. Can they make it count?
Scramble.
Oh, there's a big scramble, isn't there? That's more like it. That's what we want.
Yeah. I love a bit of pinball. I don't think I'll ever be able to see pinball in an England game now without thinking of the Polish game.
Of Tomaszewski's one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like it was happening every 2 minutes, doesn't it? But Northern Ireland free kick from the wide right. Jimmy Nicholl with a total looper of a free kick. It almost goes out of the view of the camera. It goes that high and comes back down. It's kind of bounced around for a while and delivered back in. McGrath dives in and before Shilton can try and get it. England kind of accidentally clear it. Anderson has a shot blocked again, and Cherry kind of like strolls out of defence with the ball like he was like it's just what you do these days of like, well, we'll just run it out, no problem. And the crowd are just going wild at this point. They're like hanging from the roof.
Well, we're about an hour in now. And it's 1-1. England been really poor this second half. I think they've just not got going.
No, not at all. I mean, yeah, they've kind of gone back to the bad habits of the first half where they've let Northern Ireland get on top of them and try and just dictate the game to them, but they've not actually, I guess because they've not had the goal to wake them up, maybe they're still like, oh, it's fine, don't worry about it, we'll get through this.
They try and wake themselves up by introducing Brian Talbot.
Yeah, yeah. The commentator agrees with me. That's a good start, saying that he thinks Wilkins has played well, so he doesn't really understand why he's come off. I think there's been, I mean, as much as tactics are a thing back here, like I think there's been a bit of a change. I think Talbot plays in the middle, and you see, I think Chirrut plays a bit wider these days at this game as well. I mean, Talbot, fourth Ipswich player on the pitch as well at this point.
I was hearing a lot of Ipswich in this game, and I meant to check out. Yeah, I'm glad you did that. So 4 Ipswich players.
Yeah,
5
yeah.
Liverpool players out, 4 Ipswich players in, do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, Ipswich were going through a real golden period right now under one Bobby Robson. Around this time, Ipswich had already been in Europe, had cup success in the Texaco Cup against Norwich. Very Mike Bassett, that, isn't it? And the FA Cup, and finished 4th and 3rd in the league around this time as well. So really good Ipswich side around this.
Talbot's first touch actually is a header that goes wide. I noted at this point we saw a solitary, what is now known as a Jim from Friday Night Dinner.
Yeah.
Basically the press photographers behind the goal at the time. So not as many as there was for the Poland game when it was absolutely packed out at Wembley. He wasn't the only one there, but he was the only Jim from Friday Night Dinner.
Yeah.
I guess styles had changed a little bit, but this guy had stuck with the
He
famous big glasses, tosh and weird greasy hair.
He got his look at me and he was like, I'm sticking with this. I've invested a lot of time in these glasses and this hair.
Yeah. Well, you didn't catch me off guard so much as last time with the picture, but okay.
Still love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you what, the crowd do not like it that Anderson gets subbed for Northern Ireland. He comes off and they actually boo. It's only for about 2 seconds, but the whole crowd boo. And then, Derek Spence comes on. I'm sure he's really up for it now after he's been almost booed on.
Yeah, and welcome to Belfast, Blanchflower. Your first game and you're getting booed for a sub.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're not going to miss Spence. He's a tall, blonde lad, very, very recognisable. I mean, and then straight away, Hamilton runs up to Channon, pokes the ball past him, and the crowd almost laugh as he goes past him as well. There's a lad on the side of the pitch as well who's clearly telling Channon what he thinks of him too.
Yeah, you gotta love that.
Yeah.
I always like to look at the younger fans in the crowd as well because they're always
Yeah.
like at the front just climbing up against the fences or stuff like that. So funny. Different days.
No, yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it?
Bring back smoking at football.
is
Bring
that-
back
is that-
kids smoking.
That is not a podcast view.
Is mine.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of a shocking moment for me. I almost audibly gasped as Trevor Brooking broke free just outside the box and whipped across. I mean, there were 2 England players free, and they just catch it. Like one just catches it, and I was like, "Oh, how bad are these guys?"
I saw that as well. And she was like, "Oh, he's on his own," because I'd kind of looked at what the score was, and when the minute of the goals were scored and all this kind of stuff, and all of a sudden there's an England player bang in the middle of the area, and I'm like, "What? How did he miss this?" But yeah, he just kind of catches it in his arms and then just throws it back. I mean,
He was offside.
Yeah, it's an offside. Yeah.
There's another good chance as a cross from the right finds Greenhoff, who's he's free and his header's wide. That should England have had a couple of really good headed openings and not being able to find the target with them. There's a little note I thought which was quite darkly funny from the Brian Moore, the commentator, who said that prior to the game, Northern Ireland's manager Blanchflower was downbeat because he said that they only win 5% of the games.
5%.
5%. That seems low.
Yeah, I mean, even if that were true, you're not going to research. I mean, I don't even feel like percentages were a thing back in the 70s, so I don't know where he's coming from with that.
Yeah, and like no wonder he's downbeat. I mean, you got a 1 in 20 chance of winning.
Why have you accepted the job?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that record. Like, you've really got to try and work miracles there. But we got 12 minutes to go here, and England start to purr and aren't as useless as they were before. Like you said, Greenough had a header, and there's some good performances masked in this rubbishness as well. I think Mick Mills has been unspectacular but really solid, like quite a lot like he was in the France game as well for a little while ago. I think he's done quite well. Again,
You're more generous man than me.
No, my man as well, Trevor Brooking, done well, between the lines, as you'd say here, and some good set-piece deliveries.
Oh, love him.
Oh, yeah.
Love Trev.
A bit of Trevor Brooking.
This well-balanced match is there for the snatching, though. A lovely quote from Brian Moore. England win a corner, which Jennings misses, but Mariner can't follow up. There's still a lot of energy in the game. Needs a bit more quality, though.
Talbot now taking that header from Channon. There's his cross going in. Stewart going in now with a header. Dennis Stewart for England. goes silent here in Windsor Park because England have snatched it with 4 minutes to go. The cross coming in, the diving header by Stewart, Jennings helpless, and England ahead. Prize now of Ireland. Ireland from the crowd, but England have only to hold out for another 3 minutes to come away with a smash and grab victory.
That's a bit more quality. That'll do.
That's a bit better, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, England lead, surprisingly and
I know,
almost
yeah.
accidentally. We get to this point, I'm like, bloody hell, they're winning.
How have they done this?
Yeah, I know. Well, how they've done it is there's a cross on the right hand side from old Talbot, and there's Stewart in there getting in front of Jimmy Nicholl and a ducking header into the net.
Really good header.
England could have snatched this right at the death now.
Yeah, there's only 4 minutes to go. It's a really good header, and as we say, Ireland only win 5% of the game, so you'd imagine England to at least get a point.
Yeah, you'd imagine so. I mean, Northern Ireland gone 50 years at this point without beating England here. I mean, absolute madness, really, considering how many bloody home championships, nations, whatever they're called, games are around this time. I mean, can England hang on? You know, Northern Ireland are pushing up the pitch now.
Goal for Ireland. Spence trying to get up well there. Oh, and a tremendous save by Shilton. Well, he really saved England there. Nicholl again, the architect with one of those lovely crosses. The header not getting away very well. Caught on the half volley by McGrath. Brilliant goalkeeping by Shilton.
And it does actually come to nothing.
It does actually, yeah. Tricked you
Nice.
there.
Who shit themselves? Go on.
Yeah, it comes to nothing. There's a snapshot from McGrath, and I think he's been really good actually. McGrath's been the one that's probably been the most interesting. Him and McElroy, I think they've done well, and Shilton jumps on it like an absolute cat.
Yeah. You put a note here. Apparently, Shilton didn't want to play for England at this point. What's
Yeah, well, so he said it. He was tired of roaming the world, being Clemence's understudy. I mean, yeah, this much must have been a lot must have been going on for both their careers, where they both end up doing this, and we know it kind of carries on. And we've got to get if he's like so tired, we've got to get a Clemence game at some point soon. When he's just like, well, if I'm not going to play, I'm not going to come. It's a bit of a
Now,
sod you attitude, isn't
this is
it?
very stupid of me potentially, but Clemence. We haven't mentioned Clemence.
In terms of not playing, I mean, he's one of the ones that's at Liverpool, isn't he? So he's one of the, he's one of the guys that doesn't play, which is why he doesn't play here. And I'm pretty sure because
And Shilton was his understudy.
I think understudy, they'd both kind of maybe this is the point where Shilton actually starts stepping out of his shadow and goes, well, I'm going to be the number one. I think because we keep going up to
77. I mean, he was still playing in 90, wasn't he?
yeah. I mean, well, he started in 73 from where we first saw him
yeah,
as
of
well. So
course.
think about that long period. But I think Clemence is at Spurs by the time we get to France 82. And the France game of 82. And I think that because he's in a cup final, Shilton kind of takes his place as well in the England team and keeps it for the tournament too.
Well, there's not long to go. Can England hold out and snatch a win at Windsor Park?
Referee looking at both linesmen, looking at his watch. And it's over, and it's victory for England. After Ireland had started so well, with their goal after only 4 minutes by McGrath, Channon having scored for England after 27. Dennis Stewart getting the winner with 4 minutes to go, and Peter Shilton saving England just after that. In fact, John Revie has got onto the field to shake the hand of Peter Shilton as he comes on. Victory for England. As I said, the flags are waving. Good to see international football back here in Belfast. Sad for them that the result should have been the way it was, and particularly there for Danny Blanchflower, the Irish manager. But he'll find a way around it, and he'll get a side together here, you can be sure of that. Final score then here at Windsor Park in Belfast. There's the man who got the winner. Northern Ireland 1, England 2.
Yes, they can.
Unconvincing relief around here, isn't there?
What were you worried about? Come on.
I know. They secure a win in the opening of the home championships match. Northern Ireland, most likely worth a draw in reality, but a real game of attrition. Oh, wait a minute. A little post-credit scene we get here as well from the commentator.
Yeah. Right. And it's... Yeah, it won't be dead though, Bobby. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought so, no. I wouldn't have thought so. coming on to rain now too.
Oh, chilling.
What is this about?
Absolutely chilling.
I don't get this at all. He's like, oh yeah, but isn't it dead or something like that?
It won't be dead.
Oh, that yeah. I don't understand what he's talking about. Have you any idea?
Right. So I think the transcript for this would read,
Your
right,
Honour.
right. Yeah, it won't be dead, Bobby. It's coming on to rain now. All I thought of was the motorway. I'm thinking Bobby's thinking, fucking, this game's absolutely tosh. I'm gonna get out. Surely the motorway will be dead. And he's
Yeah.
like, everyone's got the same idea as you, mate.
Yeah.
It won't be dead. But no, nobody's leaving this game to go home on the motorway. I have no idea what's dead. It's not
I've just no idea what
It's
is
not-
going on.
not our four-legged friend.
No, don't say that. Come on. I did immediately think, oh, I hope he's not talking about the dog.
Yeah.
Our mega dog.
It's coming to rain now. Just bury it.
It's coming
The
to
ground
rain.
the ground is more moist.
Like it's coming home to roost.
Yeah. Let's have a look at the aftermath then, because I'm sorry that I picked such a duffer of a game, Nick.
Mate, I wouldn't have been able to see the dog. We wouldn't have seen Shilton. We wouldn't have seen all this kind of lovely stuff still. Channon just apparently, when you mentioned to me, you think of Mick Channon, he was around for a long time. He
Yeah.
played for England a lot, and we've kind of only seen these snippets of him. And I think he has an all right game in '73, but I've never really, I'd literally never heard of him before until that game. And this one seems to be missing a lot of chances. I mean, getting a lot of chances, but a bit
Yeah.
unspectacular.
Mariner as well. I mean, he's played both,
Yeah.
and they're just two players who have been key to England's attacking output in both the games. But there's always been someone better in both of the '70s games that we've covered, and just like, wow, well done.
like
Like, what have you done?
It's like they're taking up space more than playing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
But we kind of move on to a bit of the aftermath, really. So Northern Ireland lose their next game away in Scotland 3-0 and only draw 1-1 with Wales, putting them bottom of this year's home nations group.
That they're in the 95% zone, aren't they?
I can see where this percentage is coming from here, can't we? Yeah, they don't fare much better in World Cup qualification either, losing to Iceland and to the Netherlands at home. The Netherlands game being George Best's last for his country as well, which is a bit sad, but it's kind of one of those things of, well, you're glad he came back, at some point, better to have dreamed and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, going out against playing against a good side as well, the Netherlands.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So they were the only team in qualifying to actually take any points off the Netherlands. This Netherlands team, reached their second World Cup final in a row in 1978, and would be on the losing side again, unfortunately. This time to host Argentina, who won 3-1 in extra time. So a real, probably the best Netherlands team ever. You'd maybe say, the '88 one where they win something there, but for kind of iconic, I mean, with players like Cruyff and Naskins, they're the ones that everyone remembers, don't they?
Yeah, and the icon George Best would never play at an international tournament.
Yeah, it seems really cruel actually, because by the time the next World Cup qualifying rolls around, Northern Ireland do qualify and they go to Spain '82, and I think they beat Spain in their group in a stage as well. So a real highlight for a next generation that come through.
Is that the one we did with France?
Yeah, so I think they play them in their first, because there's two group stages at the World Cup
Right,
at that
yeah,
point.
yeah.
So I think they win against Spain in Spain. I know they get a real landmark win for sure.
We would definitely have spoken about it on the build-up or what have you to that, or the aftermath to that game. But watch so much bloody England lately. I'm telling you, I'm loving it. I'm loving it because I get to learn about players like Mick Channon.
Oh yeah, and the big careers they had for England.
Yeah,
Sorry,
great.
Mick Channon, but I guess you're not listening. So
Nah. There was a little bit of aftermath that I found particularly of interest. There's a lot of aftermath really, and too much for us to cover really now.
in great depth, yeah, but maybe a bit of a breeze through what we've got.
Yeah, so not a happy home life. I think I've made an Office reference about every minute or so in this podcast, but not a happy home life for Don Revie and the FA. After this game, instead of being able to go, "Ooh, we won, it was close," or what have you, the chairman of the FA told Revie that this win was a load of old rubbish.
Wowzers!
He's not wrong, is he?
I mean, he's not, but straight away, that's unnecessary pressure.
Yeah.
Did he make that as a comment, or was that kind of later just said by Revie?
No, No, I think you're right. I don't even think Revie said it. I think somebody else did. But I don't. You're saying, did he say it
No,
publicly?
I think that was. I think you said it was the chairman maybe of the FA who said it. Did he say that? Do we think to Revie, or was that like a public thing of, well, actually, this is a load of crap, this isn't it?
Not public. And I don't think Revie came out of it. I think that one of the managerial staff did later, years later.
There you go then. Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily get much better. I mean, this game is followed, this win, which fair enough, it's
Yeah.
a win, but it's followed by a loss 1-0 to Wales just a few days later, as well as a 2-1 loss to Scotland at Wembley on the 4th of June. A game remembered for a big old pitch invasion.
Yeah, remembered by Scotland fans, including one Rodney Stewart.
He
As
looks
you can
great
see.
in this picture that you've put here.
Yeah, I mean they all
Does
invade
he ever wear anything other than a Scotland tracksuit? I feel like he's just always wearing that.
that, or like a jacket of some sort, like
Yeah.
a suit jacket. I
Not,
mean,
not zipped up.
no, not zipped up. Yeah,
T-shirt underneath.
Yeah, no bother. Yeah, obviously they invade the pitch and it are crowned home nations winners, and a real iconic moment in Scottish football. I mean, it's apparently it's a really well known photo, the one that is of Rod Stewart on the pitch. But I looked at it and was like, oh, that guy looks like Rod Stewart, and I was
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, before I say this guy looks like Rod Stewart, let me just, oh yeah, it is Rod Stewart. Okay, fine.
Good spot. England have obviously got the pressure is mounting on Don Revie, but there's international friendlies and qualification for the World Cup is kind of out of their hands. So he's still busy. This England team are playing a lot, and it's just pressure.
I think so, yeah. I mean, England travelled to South America to host for a host of international friendlies. They play Brazil, Argentina, and Uruguay.
Oh, that's what you want under pressure after you've just lost to Scotland and Wales.
Why are you scheduling that as well? Like that's got to be done like way in advance. Do we think because the World Cup's going to be in Argentina, they think, well, let's go to South America and let's try and acclimatise for next year? That's quite very arrogant England. I'll think of the future, even though we didn't qualify for the last load of tournaments. Let's go because we'll qualify for the next one, definitely.
Yeah, and there is only so much a man can take. Don Revie kind of puts himself into exit mode.
Yeah, he attempts to have his contract with the FA cancelled, which the FA blocked. He then gave an interview to the Daily Mail, revealing he wanted to quit the England manager's position to take up a position with the UAE, coaching their team.
Well, we'll get to the UA because that's wild.
I know,
shift.
yeah.
I did pick a quote out from that interview. So Don Revie says, on obviously the reasons why he wants to leave England and the FA are blocking him to do so. I sat down with my wife Elsie one night and we agreed that the England job was no longer worth the aggravation. It was bringing too much heartache to those nearest to us. Nearly everyone in the country wants me out, so I'm giving them what they want. I know people will accuse me of running away, and it does sicken me that I can't finish the job by taking England to the World Cup finals in Argentina next year, but the situation has become impossible.
The impossible job rears its head again.
Well, I'll try and go through this quickly because I thought it was very interesting what I, again, read an article about Don Revie. And he was saying there were some who accused him. Now, obviously, the UAE thing, he wants to move there. There's a lot of money involved in that.
Yeah.
And some people accused him of being solely a money-focused person, which is perhaps why he didn't succeed so well at England. Apparently, there's something to do with fees for the England team that he was
Okay.
like one of the first thing. I could be wrong here, but I'm sure I read that one of the first things he did was to negotiate the fees that the players and the managers get paid for England games up. Whereas
Okay.
most leave it because even the players and that find it insignificant.
Yeah.
Most donated to charity or something there if there is a fee.
I guess maybe, yeah, well, these days, I don't even know if England players do get paid to play for England. I don't think they do because I think they're paid so well at club level. I think they just put it all to charity. Maybe we could do a bit of a dive in the future towards that. But in the 70s, I mean, they're going to be earning all right money, but it's not like the mad levels you're at today in comparison to like a normal wage.
And he will eventually be replaced by Ron Greenwood,
Yes.
who is held up in high regard by the FA, and they look back on. You never see anything about Don Revie because the FA essentially washed the hands of him and labelled him, like painted him as even when he died, there wasn't this Graham Taylor style tributes and what have you to him, especially from England. Obviously,
Yeah.
Leeds would have, but it just seems he's been kind of unfair. I mean, look at somebody like Sven-Goran Eriksson or Fabio Capello. They're England managers who were just in it for the money in a sense, or or money was a big motivating factor for them. And then you look at people like Graham Taylor, where it was not.
No.
And I just kind of think, where does he actually sit? Because as we mentioned earlier, I feel like his whole legacy is decided or dictated by other people.
And I think when you look at Brian Clough, he's seen as the man who should have managed England and a bit of a hero. And
Yeah.
look what he's like. When actually, when we covered him in the '73 game, I thought he was a bit of a dickhead the way he was
Yeah.
kind of carrying on. And there's other things where you can see, and yeah, he's playing up to the crowd and he gets media and all this kind of stuff. And maybe Revie's not that type of person, but I think he's been definitely painted as a villain. And I think there's some games, those games that they covered here when they go abroad. I think maybe a little look into them in the future if we're going to cover Revie. I mean, a quick look over him, there were allegations that actually he went and met with the UAE during those games as well, when he should have actually been scouting teams and all this other kind of stuff as well. But he did end up going to go and coach in the UAE until 1980, and came back and he had I think it was like a 10-year suspension.
Yeah, exactly. 10-year suspension. They didn't give Sven that or
No.
Capello. When Sven, I mean, it's different times. It's just a weird one. I'd like to find out a bit more about it, perhaps. But
Yeah.
I wonder whether anyone could have done a great job with this team.
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, we get to the next manager as well, and we've still got a World Cup qualification campaign to go here. He leaves before the qualification campaign's finished as well.
Yeah.
So we get Greenwood's appointed, tasked with saving their World Cup qualification. England go into their final game, qualifying on level points with Italy, but behind on goal difference by 4. They beat Italy 2-0 at Wembley, putting them back on level goal difference and level points. But Italy have a game in hand, and it's against Luxembourg, which they duly win 3-0 in December, and they're off to the World Cup. And England aren't for a successive World Cup.
Wow. So I guess overall this game was a bit of a high point.
Well, yeah, one of the few ones there, wouldn't it? Maybe we should watch one of those Euro qualifiers where they do quite well, because it sounds like they started off really well, and
Mate, I
just
might
never
have
gets
I might have
going.
a bit of a break from Mick Talbot for a bit, if that's all right with you.
I think that's understandable. Well, I think there's only one thing left to do here, Joel. Was this England?
I think this game reminded me of those England friendly games against the likes of Andorra, who we seem to mention quite a lot, where you just leave and it's on like a Tuesday night and you watch it and you go, oh, it was a bit scary when they took the lead, but we
Yeah.
won, and I'll probably never think about this again.
Yeah.
Or one of the pre-tournament friendlies, which are always crap.
Yeah.
Like, has there ever been a good pre-tournament friendly?
The only one I can ever remember being like, I wouldn't even say it's any good. I didn't like England win 6-0 against Jamaica in 2006. I think Peter Crouch got a hat trick, and he kind of like busted out the robot. And I remember like that being like a big thing. It was at Old Trafford. It was really sunny, but yeah, in terms of like really memorable, because you don't play any good teams really, because no one wants to show their hand too early.
Yeah.
You're not going to play obviously anybody you could maybe draw in the next round. So it's a lot of the time, if it's a nation like the Netherlands who don't qualify, everyone's kind of like scrapping to have like a friendly with them. Like, well, it's just a one-off, but they're a good team, so if we lose, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I think because of the precedence, I would say, yeah, it is England. I can point to other examples that make it so.
Okay. All right, then I'm not sure. I mean, if it is England, like you say, it's like one of those games where you don't play well and it's a qualifying game, unconvincing, but you get something out of it. But yeah, it wasn't spectacular enough to be what I consider England, but it was boring enough to be England in a way.
Yeah, just before we finish and get to the social handles and all of that very rightly caps off the show, I'd just like to apologise to Brian Talbot, who I've been calling Mick Talbot for quite a lot, and again mixed up with Mick Channon.
Mick Channon, yeah.
Do you know who Mick Talbot is?
Mick Talbot, no, who's that?
He's the keyboard player from the Style Council. I knew the name from somewhere, and I
Well,
think he was in Dexy's Midnight Runners as well.
You're not too far off in this era. I guess that's like early 80s, is it? Style
Yeah.
Council would have been. I think the Jam would have been around here.
Anyway,
Definitely with those flares we saw at the start.
sorry Brian, sorry Mick Channon, and sorry Mick Talbot. I hope you're all not
Fine.
too pissed off with me for that. Right, if you want to get in touch with the show, you can find us on social media at @isvis_England. That's the Instagram and Twitter handles. Nick, do you want to tell people how they can get in touch via email?
Yeah, you can email the pod at isthisenglandpod@gmail.com.
Spot on. Thank you very much, Nick. See you all soon.
Thank you very much.